How was yours?
It was good. Got to play golf with the family.
And
So
beat Danny at paddleboard or pickleball, right?
I did crushed him.
Yeah,
It was soul crushing and it felt great.
that's what your kids are for.
Exactly.
Well, welcome to another episode of Building the Pride, the return of Mike Part 2.
Me too. Yeah.
Mike, we covered both the Vikings and Steelers games in last week's episode. So we could maybe preview the Bears.
All right.
And
I like it.
Talk a little bit. I have listened to, shockingly, I have listened to a podcast, and they brought up the topic was teams who flopped this year.
Okay.
And or like I think a better way to say it is teams that did not meet the expectations that they had coming into the season, right?
Yeah. Teams who disappointed.
Yeah. So shockingly, Detroit was number one on that list. So
Shockingly?
well,
Yeah.
I think that they were held to. Hey, Donkey Kong.
What's up, Donkey Kong? Happy New Year.
So thankful for the offseason, top free agent center or bust. So let's just talk about that, Mike.
All right, let's do it. Yeah.
I have read today on Pride of Detroit that Jared Goff was asked in an interview about Frank Ragnow. And Jared Goff said, I'll talk to him, but I'd be very surprised if Frank
If it's
wanted
even
to
on the
come
table.
back. Right.
Yeah.
So the best case scenario for the Detroit Lions is that Frank Ragnow heals up, gets rebitten by the competitive bug, and wants to come back and play for 1 year. Let's not talk about that. That's kind of self-explanatory. What do they do if he doesn't?
Hope and pray.
I think that's a lot of it. I think that's a solid. Well, their fans certainly will be. If you draft, let's just get this out of the way, like real quickly. If you draft a kid, they're not going to come in and play center at like even a Graham Glasgow level right off the bat.
You don't think so? I mean, Graham Glasgow was pretty miserable.
So the issue I think that Graham has this year is that I've watched numerous videos about or breakdowns about why the offensive line isn't doing what they're isn't effective at what they're trying to do.
Right.
And most of it stems from the fact that Frank Ragnow could basically hold his own against virtually any defensive tackle in the NFL. He may not win every exchange, but he could stand there and stalemate the biggest, the strongest. What's up, Thomas? Those kind of guys. He could stalemate them the majority of the game and win some of the exchanges, right?
Right.
Graham Glasgow's not doing that. So what do you do? So I don't think that a rookie comes in and just is the same kind of, we need a center in free agency and draft a tackle. We'll talk about it. I think that I doubt that a 22-year-old is going to come in and serve against 28, 30-year-old defensive tackles that are. Well, how do we have 11 people in chat right now? What's up, Mac Attack?
Everybody's got the day off.
It's Thomas Zwar's birthday. Happy birthday, Thomas.
Happy birthday, man.
I am the one who fantasizes about Xavier's singing love, hate, and a deep morning with. I don't know what that means. But I don't think a 22-year-old kid's going to come in and be able to stand up physically to grown-ass men, basically, who know what they're doing. I also don't think that a rookie center is going to come in and be able to know what the blocking assignments are, recognize what's happening at the line, have the communication with Goff that he needs to have in order to function independently. So if you start a rookie, I think that you see much the same thing that Grand Glasgow offered this last year. So that leads me to, shall we sign a veteran? Which was, I think, already echoed in the chat. Hey, what's up, fan man?
Right. So here's the trouble with signing a veteran.
Yeah.
Just not out there.
There's
I'm
not
looking at
many.
Spot Track at the 2025, well, this season, this offseason, center free agents. And we've got John Feliciano from San Francisco, 10-year vet. He's 33. He'll be 34. Cody Whitehair, 9-year vet from Las Vegas. Nick Harris, 5-year vet from Cleveland. Nick Gates, 7-year vet from Philadelphia. Have you heard of any of these people, by the way?
One or two of them. I have some names that you have there. See you later, Thomas.
Yeah, Sam Mustafar, Doug Kramer, Wesley French, and Dieter Eiselson.
So here's the thing, is that I think that there's some people who are, so I think Zero Bills has has seen where I'm going with this. There's some people who I think are either currently playing guard or have spot dutied at center this year that ended up being real options as starting centers in the NFL next year. So Hank Fraley's son, Trent, not draft eligible until next year. So there's 4 guys that are quote unquote I think might be available on the free agency market that the Lions should at least, I don't know, do some due diligence on. One is Connor McGovern from the Buffalo Bills, who is either in a contract year or whatever. If he makes it to the free agency market, I would bring him in for a visit, talk to him, see what's going on. The other one is Cade Mays from Carolina. Yep. He is coming off of his rookie deal. He's 26. He fits the height, weight, speed. He did spot duty for Carolina. These guys are not. Please, no one come at me about like these guys aren't as good as Frank Ragnow. I know that.
Yeah. Frank is a potentially Hall of Fame quality center.
Yeah.
So
I am just looking at like quality replacements to keep the offense not having the same issues they had this year.
Yeah. So Spot Track has Cade Mays market value at $12 million a year.
Okay.
Just throwing that, because that's going to be a concern that we also have to figure out, right? Because we don't have that much cap space. We still have to figure out what are we doing with Brian Branch? What are we doing with Gibbs and with Jack Campbell, right? So there's guys we have to re-sign, and we're tied up against the cap, and 70 million of it, 69 point something million of it is going to Goff this year,
right,
until they restructure, because they have to restructure. But like that, so that is a concern. So yes, we have to. It'd be great to go get these guys, but like $12 million for a center isn't cheap. And do we have that room? I'm not saying we can't do it. I'm just saying that there's a lot of things going on there that we have to figure out all at the same time.
I agree. So I am not a fan of A to Z Sports by any stretch of the imagination, but one of their guys was like, the Lions can open up $118 million in cap space next season, and basically just outlined like, if you just went to the max and like restructured everybody for the max that they're eligible and like didn't re-sign player A, B, and C, you can get to 118 million. And I was like, cool, for a team that doesn't spend money in free agency traditionally. Like, seems on the nose. Great job,
Max Crosby.
So there's one other option I think that's available, and that is trading for a center. And the guy that I'm going to recommend is Eric McCoy from the New Orleans Saints. They are not good. They're going to pick in the top 10 this year. They have finally started to address some of their cap issues, and they might be looking to move established players for draft capital. Brad loves to trade draft capital. So I was wondering, I think, so maybe this is what Zero. That's not Zero. That's, I hate that on your Mike, and you can see the chat, right?
Yeah.
Does your chat read as @ and then all these people's names?
Yes.
Right. So like they used to have names, and that's how we learned everybody. Because like at Zero Bills, I know him by some other name, and I can't remember what it is. He had like a handle that for whatever reason YouTube no longer indicates. But yeah, so but at Zero Bills here, like get the New Orleans Center. So he either means trading for Eric McCoy, which I think would be a fine move, or they have a guy who is playing in place of Eric McCoy right now, Luke Fortner, who was a center for the Jacksonville Jaguars, who's playing this year. So I mean, like those are the options.
And he's only this was his 4th year, so he's going into his 5th year for Fortner.
So Cade Mays, Fortner, coming out of their second, they're looking for their first quote unquote real contract. So if we put that for any center that were quote unquote worth their money, we might say that that's $12 million, right? So the Lions are right now, as of today, $4 million under the 26 cap. And they do have like $20 million in dead money coming off the books. That'll help. They will have the rollover from this season. That will help. They can restructure, I believe, Sewell, Amon-Ra, and Goff, maybe even McNeil. So there are avenues to getting some cap flexibility, but like now we are to the part of the roster construction where they've identified the pillars, the guys that they have wanted to commit to, and now there's less money,
Yeah.
So you wrote, what do you do with guys like Jahmyr Gibbs and Jack Campbell? Well, that was a really good class.
You have to re-sign them, right?
Of course, absolutely. But here's how I would do it. Brian Branch had the worst timing for his Achilles injury, right? Like at the end of the year heading into his contract season.
Yep.
So we have next year is the last year of his rookie deal, and then you have to make a decision, which means he's eligible to be extended at the start of next season. And same thing for Laporta. He's in the same boat. An Achilles and a spinal injury for those two guys do not leave a ton of confidence in, like, are you the same player when you come back, right? So that class might really just be Gibbs and Campbell. So here's what I would do if I was the Lions and I'm looking to free up cap space as the cap continues to go up and up every year. I would tag Campbell and Gibbs on their tags.
Yeah.
Because a linebacker and running back franchise tag costs you nothing. Now it's completely guaranteed, but I mean, compared to what those guys are going to make AAV on an extension, it's less. So you can get 1 year less of both of those players and then sign them to deals that they have definitely both earned. And then you get at least a year to see, like, does Laporta come back? We have another 6 months of medical. Same things for Branch. And then you can, like, give them both time next season to, like, reestablish their value. And, and I don't think they let either player go.
No,
but,
you can't.
Right. But, like,
too good.
Can you give a guy who's, I mean, like we saw Aleem McNeil tear his ACL this time last year, and he's come back and played half the season and doesn't look good. So it looks like it's really going to be like, even though he quote unquote played this season, like he's certainly not the player that the Lions have committed all that money to. And like now it remains to be seen, like, is he that player next year? I think you're in the same position with Laporta and Branch this upcoming season. So there's no easy answers anymore, right?
Yeah, and I'm looking at over the cap at potential cuts and savings, right? So we've got Taylor Decker. If we cut him, we have $11.9 million in cap savings. That's a big deal, especially since he took a step back this year, and there's rumors that he might retire at the end of this year anyway. And then Montgomery would be a $3.5 million hit, but I think we don't do that. We need him. He is
that's
too
another
integral
thing
to what we do.
Yeah,
I figured you would. Graham Glasgow is a $5.5 million savings.
I think that's probably going to happen. Yeah.
and Brock Wright is a $2.7 million savings. Those are the kind of the big ones where you actually get savings of real numbers. And obviously, if you restructure Jared Goff, you're looking at saving. I think his salary hit would be, or his cap would be at 40 million instead of the current 69.6 million. So we'd save about just under $30 million in savings if we restructure Goff. So you can do those things, and I think Taylor Decker and Graham Glasgow have got to be candidates for. And I forget who it was. I was just reading it yesterday. It was one of the higher end executives said you would rather move on from a guy a year too early than a year too late. And I feel like Decker might be one of those guys where you're like, well, if we stuck with him one more year, he is what we've got. We know him. He knows the system, yada, yada. But are we actually just better off cutting him a year earlier than a year later?
So, as an interesting question. So, like so Detroit fan. I want to know how much of Aleem looks awful is tied to the scheme change from TW to Casey Rogers. Who's TW?
Tyleek, probably.
Oh, sure. Should we expect to see another new fifth DL coach in 5 years? Two gap scheme doesn't fit here.
So maybe TW is that the defensive line coach?
Might be. Hey, Detroit fan man, can you elaborate on who TW was? Terrell Williams, last year's D-line coach. Thank you, guys. Okay. That's an excellent question, and I don't have a good answer for it. I mean, like, what I would like, I think Kelvin Shepard did a good job as our defensive coordinator this year. Following up from Aaron Glenn. And but here, this is the next question that I wanted to talk about. Brain drain, right? So we lost Aaron Glenn. He took other defensive assistants with him to New York. We lost Ben Johnson. He took other offensive people with him to New York or to Chicago. And then you have to try and replace that. And it's not just I'm replacing the coordinators. You're replacing their support staff. You're replacing position coaches, that kind of stuff. So how does Detroit handle that? Well, I think Kelvin Shepard's done a nice job, and there's no reason to have him not be the defensive coordinator.
Especially considering the injuries.
Right. I think the more concerning side of the ball is the offense, where I think this season went, at least this season proved what the worst case scenario for what people were thinking about Ben Johnson, which was that he's the brainchild. He was the brainchild of the offense. I was hoping it was more of a collaboration between Campbell, Goff, and Johnson, and it looks like that pie skews so much heavier toward Johnson than it does either of the other two players or people. So DJ Reader is not Vita Vea. So remember, Aleem was used as a nose tackle in college, and then when he came to the NFL, the Lions converted him to a 3-tech because Onwuzurike was hurt for 3 years, and then they went out and signed DJ Reader, I believe, after year two of the regime, and he's been here now 2 years, and he's a free agent as well, and he's your quintessential 2-gap nose tackle, run stuffing, occupy multiple guys, huge world body, enormous human being kind of person. And that's all they ask him to do. That's all they ask DJ Reader to do is just eat up 2 gaps and stop the run. And he does a pretty decent job of it, but that's supposed to free up McNeil to have one-on-ones. And I don't know. I just think that it's the combination of coming back, trying to get into game shape, learning to trust your knee again. Obviously what you're asked to do matters a great deal, the coaching, but I don't know how the coaching has affected Lee McNeil. I mean, he was effective as a 3 technique when they were beat a guard and get into the backfield, and blow up a running play, put some pressure on the quarterback, whatever that was. He was really good at it. So, I mean, like, if I am constantly shocked at any professional sport when they acquire a player and then either put them in like putting a round puzzle piece in a square hole. Like, here, you're good at X. We're going to ask you to do Y. I don't understand that,
Yep.
So that's why I've always felt like the coaches that are the quote best are the ones that are like, this is what my players do well. I'm going to put my players in a position to do what they're good at. And then we'll just figure out the rest, later. But he's got to play better than he played this year. I mean, if you pay this dude $28 million a year and then you change position coaches or unit coaches or whatever you want to call them. Yeah, and schemes. And then you're like, oh, he's not playing well. You got to get rid of that scheme. DJ is less important to keep than Roy. Hard disagree. Hard pass. If DJ was more important to keep than Roy Lopez would be the starter in the eyes of the coaches and the scheme and the team.
I mean, DJ would be the starter?
No, Roy Lopez.
Oh, DJ I'm sorry, less important. Sorry, I misread less for more.
I think that they will keep both guys, but I believe that DJ Reader, if DJ Reader and Roy Lopez were both to hit free agency, DJ Reader would have a contract late day 1, early day 2, and Roy Lopez is going to have to sit around and wait for people to figure out the spot. Like he was allowed to leave Arizona last year. I like Roy Lopez. I think that he's a nice piece.
He's played
here,
well,
but he's a backup, and DJ Reader is not. So
I guess kind of back a little full circle-ish. Sure. What are your thoughts on Taylor Decker?
Right.
Assuming he doesn't retire, right? So if he retires, all this is moot because he's gone and we don't have anything, nothing we can do about it. But assuming he doesn't retire, do we cut him? Do we draft his replacement and stick with him one more year? Like, what are your thoughts? Do we trade him?
So I think that if with the retirement, like rumors circulating around him now for however long, I think trading him is a big ask, because if someone's going to invest in Taylor Decker, whether it's like giving up a draft pick and then hopefully wanting to sign him for, I mean, you're going to want him to play for you for a while,
more than just 1 year, right?
Yeah, unless it's something like we're coming up on the trade deadline and some contenders team's left tackle just took a shit and they're like, oh, okay, Detroit maybe isn't in the playoff hunt right now. Let's see if we can we give up a 2 for Taylor Decker? Then that would be, that would be on my radar, I suppose. But trading left tackles in the middle of the season never happens. So, I mean, it's usually a off-season kind of scenario. So, I think the overwhelmingly most likely scenario is that Taylor Decker returns to the Lions for 1 more year, and or whatever, or he just retires after the Lions have any ability to adjust for his absence, like Ragnow did. And it's just I
have to think that Ragnow was letting Brad know, hey, this is something that's fairly likely outcome, right?
If that is the case, that is an absolute crushing oversight by Brad Holmes. The worst mistake that he has made in the roster construction to date.
Meaning not drafting a replacement.
Yeah, not having
knowing that it's likely kind of thing.
If they were so confident that Graham Glasgow could step in for a season for Frank Ragnow, okay. But then you did nothing to address the situation beyond Graham Glasgow.
Yeah.
So then at least be like, we're going to draft Tate Ratledge and we'll play him at guard and then cross train him, and just say that. I mean, I know he took some OTA snaps at center and they'll probably do it again this year.
But do you think he's our next center?
He might very well. Dan's already come out and said because he's getting asked about it because, they're out of the playoffs. So let's talk about offseason stuff is already happening for, in the press corps. And he, it's like, well, Ratledge or whatever. And like, but like, I don't think that they will know until they get into they're talking about like, this is our plan C, is to like have Ratledge cross train at center, and then we'll move forward. Like, but Dan said, he's like, I think he can be a good center. And I was like, okay. I mean, like, okay. But like, I mean, round 2 is just sitting right there, I mean, like, there's going to be three centers maybe in round 2 that you might be able to draft. I mean, it's not a good year for centers. And like, here's the other thing about centers is that the Lions, like Ragnow was like 6'5", 330, close to 340. Like, he's enormous. Okay. The college centers are not asked to move dudes off the ball anymore. They are asked to pull, to hit and get to the second level. They are like outside zone centers, right? So they're like 6'3", 300 pounds. So everybody that's like Tyler Linderbaum, who's coming off of his rookie deal in Baltimore and is not likely to get tagged because of the way that like offensive lineman tags work. They're like, go sign Tyler Linderbaum. And I was like, he does the opposite of what the Detroit Lions want to do with that position. Like, okay, if you're up for a total offensive run game scheme change, then sure. But he's not the dude that moves the defensive tackle off the ball. So I don't know. I mean, like, you could go that route, but like Connor Lew from Auburn, Jake Slaughter from Florida, like, they're not behemoths. They're these fast pulling centers that have been asked to play outside zone for most of their collegiate careers. And like, you just don't have the height, weight, speed to do some of the stuff that the Lions want to do. That's the problem, is that the Lions archetype for the position is being phased out of football. So yeah. So that's the thing. So I mean, like, I agree. I don't think that they're going to draft a starter at center. Like, you either did like
you have too many needs.
Yeah. Well, I mean,
and I'm sure we're going to go through, once the offseason hits, we'll do a year in review, and then we'll really talk about like diving into like a deep dive into the position group needs. But like, yes, center's a need, but so is guard, and so is. I think so. I mean, I think our interior offensive line as a whole was not good at all. And yes, a lot of that was the center and Graham Glasgow playing like absolute dumpster fire. But we also had a whole bunch on especially the left guard. I didn't think it was kind of a round robin of like people from injury standpoint, but none of them were particularly great. So getting stronger at guard is, I think, going to be important. Figuring out what's going on with our left tackle is going to be important. That's just on the line, right? And then we haven't even talked about the defensive side of the ball and the depth that we need there. And, Trayvon Diggs from Dallas was just cut. Like, is that something? Is he better than Reed?
No.
Reed was horrendous.
Trayvon Diggs is a chance-taking, poor technique idiot who just the Cowboys let go in the middle of the extension that they signed him to. Like, if that sounds like a Detroit Lion, like, I don't know what we're doing. But like,
did you hear the backstory around that?
I heard a little bit about it, but I mean, like, anytime that a team cuts a player in season for like, hey, he's healthy and can play now. He was hurt previously. Yeah. We just don't want him on the team anymore. Like, that is.
I wonder how. I mean, so like Micah Parsons, they traded because he was, a locker room cancer and blah blah blah. They cut Trayvon Diggs, and I'm wondering, is it really those two, or is it just the team and the ownership? Because like the backstory that I read on Diggs' cut was after the Christmas Day game, they were in DC, which is where his family's at. Okay. He's like, hey, can I stay here with my family? Because otherwise I go back just to take the next flight back. And they said no. And those kinds of things happen all the time where they ask for family things, especially around the holiday games, and they're usually granted, but they said no. And he's like, but they're all here and I can fly back with a team just to jump on a plane to fly back. But like, that doesn't make a lot of sense. And like, yeah, still no. And so I wonder if the organization is just that bad that people aren't necessarily locker room cancers or like bad people. It's just people fed up with the organization and the leadership there. I mean, it is
it's
Jerry
entirely
Jones after all,
possible.
right?
Yeah.
Especially
So-
lately with the type of people. Like, as far as I know, Micah Parsons has never been known to be so horrendous that you just have to trade him and not like do what you can to keep him. And then this here, I don't know, seems very, very much a trend.
I'm going to push back on we need help at guard, and here's why I'm going to push back on it is that Ratledge was a rookie, and Christian Mahogany was a second-year player who played 2 games his rookie season. They're just new. Like, that's the problem. I mean, like, I think they both. I mean, consistency as a unit is one of the most important things in football for an offensive line. You want the same 5 guys playing together continuously, right?
Right.
Obviously, that didn't happen this year. So, like, you have a Hall of Famer with Penei Sewell at right tackle, right? You've invested a second-round pick in Ratledge. It was his rookie season, whether he is a right guard or a center next season, whatever he's playing. So, and then Mahogany missed like 7 games. This is 7-8 games. So, like half the season, basically. So, if you are convinced that a player in his second year, and this goes for Terrion Arnold as well, is all done because he missed half a season between his rookie and second year, and as an organization, I'd be shocked if they were like, no, we have to move on from Terrion Arnold. We have to move on from Christian Mahogany because, and like,
yeah,
I mean,
and that's fair.
So then if you have doubts at both of those positions, I don't mind bringing in guys to compete with those players. Like Mahogany was like a 6th-round pick, you know. You got to have quality starting corners in the league, you know. And so, like, you know, they have drafted Ennis Rakestraw. He was hurt. He's in the same position as Mahogany and Arnold and all these other guys. And so, like, he might come back next year and play well and be like, okay, like, he might be a guy that we can count on. You know, Arnold might be completely healthy for a year. Mahogany might be completely healthy for a year. So, but if
health
they're
would
not,
be a really big deal for us. Just
absolutely
not leading the NFL in games lost. That would be really great. Finally.
So they have also drafted Miles Frazier last year in the later on as a day 3 pick. He was hurt, but
I got to step away to blow my nose real quick because it's very drippy, but I'm listening.
Okay, great. So, like, they've drafted Miles Frazier. That's another body there, you know, and I think that you want to keep the first contract players that are also young, growing, learning, and cheap on the roster and see if they improve, you know. But like, if you want to bring in a guy that can quote unquote compete with or replace Ratledge at right guard or compete with like Christian Mahogany at left guard, that's fine. But then that's the second guy that you have to bring in to do that, because you have Frazier on the roster as like a, you know, he's not one of these like Christian Cologne, Kingsley Aguiakun type players that are like practice squad elevations most of the time. Like, he's a drafted player who's in development, you know. And so, like, I think that, do the guards need to get better? Sure. But like, I think Isaac Tesla will also be better next year, you know, because he was a rookie this year. You know, and that's they have to grow up and get their bodies right and get their heads right, you know, and have that kind of and build that kind of consistency again. But like, I'm willing to let Mahogany start at left guard and Ratledge start at right guard again next year, because they've, you know, they haven't played a full season.
Yeah.
They don't have a full season of games under
where do you focus the offseason then?
Okay, so I mean, that's a good question, because so like we talked about Decker, right?
Yep.
Left tackles in the NFL, or basically all tackles now in the NFL, are like quarterbacks, in the sense that like you either draft them high or you probably don't get a good one. Like the biggest exception to that is Jordan Mailata, who was part of the foreign player exchange program. And like,
yep.
The Philadelphia Eagles converted him into a top 5 tackle in the NFL. Like, that doesn't happen. So you can't rely on that. But the Lions right now are picking 15th, or as I like to call it, the worst spot in the NFL draft. So, and this is a bad tackle class. And like left tackles, quality left tackles, yeah. Quality left tackles don't make it to free agency, so you're not going to get one on the open market, which means you either trade big for an established left tackle or you have to draft one. And there aren't any I don't think there are any to draft this year. So that means you either move Penei Sewell to left tackle and draft a right tackle, of which there are many quality right tackles in this year's class. And I hate that idea because I think that he is a Hall of Famer at right tackle, and he is way better at run blocking than he is at pass blocking. And I would rather have him run blocking than pass blocking, I guess. And there are some guys on day 2 that I think the Lions could look at that might be like, you draft this guy, especially if Decker's here for one more year, and you let them be in the room, talk, work out, learn as much as you can from Eric Decker. God damn it, Taylor Decker.
It's been a while, Drew. It's been a while.
I still can't do it. and then you're like, we're going to go into 2027 with whatever second or third round pick we've had apprentice under Taylor Decker for a year, and we're going to see how that works, and if they're not good, they'll move up in the draft and have a better chance of getting one in a better class with a better pick. And if they're not, then you're winning games and you have probably solved the problem. So the problem that I have with the Lions right now is that they're an NFL mediocrity. This is the last place that you want to be. You're 500, and which direction do you go? Yeah. My choice is always like try and get worse so that you can get better faster. So
you're rooting for a loss against Chicago.
I there is no reason to win that game. Yeah. There's zero.
I just want to make sure that there's no long-term injuries.
Yeah, agreed.
Right.
The worst thing that you could have happen would be for Jamison Williams to pop his Achilles, or Jahmyr Gibbs to dislocate his shoulder, or tear a hamstring or something like that. It cannot happen.
Right.
I mean, Miles Frazier played tackle at LSU. He has experience there. I mean, this is why you draft these kinds of guys, in the NFL. I mean, the other thing, that we haven't talked about yet is Giovanni Manu is still on the roster. I mean, I don't think that he's a big part of the Lions' future. I think that he's future Dan Skipper at best. But I mean, and this is the other thing we've talked about, depth and needing kind of players. In the last 2 years, Brad has traded 4 third-round picks. Imagine if there was a third-round pick at center, corner, safety, and tackle on the roster right now. I mean, wouldn't that be nice? Here's a fun little thing. 2 years ago, the Lions traded up just a couple of spots to draft Terrion Arnold, right? Mm-hmm. So they traded a third-round pick to the Cowboys, which is pretty standard to move up in round 1.
Right.
To go get their guy, right? BPA. That's who was on their board. Their BPA on their board. So the third round pick that they traded became Cooper Beebe, who starts now for the Dallas Cowboys on their offensive line. He might be a center, and 5 picks after 5 picks after the Lions drafted Arnold, the Ravens took Nate Wiggins, who's a man corner who's playing really well on a team with no pass rush. Right. So, I mean, if you had, say the Lions had kept that third round pick and had Nate Wiggins and Cooper Beebe on this roster right now, we would be 2 spots less with question marks on it. I mean, and that's the problem. They traded a future third round pick so they could draft Giovanni Manu and develop him 3 years ago, and that has worked out incredibly poorly. And the only one of these trades that I like is the fact that I think Isaac TeSlaa is going to work out to be a pretty good wide receiver, but he's worth 3 guys. They traded,
and we actually have to use him.
Yeah. So they traded 2 third round picks and then used that third round pick in order to go get him. So 3 third round picks to have Isaac Tesla on this roster, and like I like that kid, but like he's got to be on the field, and like I don't understand why he's not, because last year they had Tim Patrick, who's in the same physical mold as Tesla, and ran the ball really well. He was basically like a small tight end that they would put out there, and they just don't do it. They finally had to put him out there when Khalif Raymond got hurt because for lack of options, but like, so I know we're kind of jumping all over the place here, but like, what do you do about Taylor Decker? Like, there's a kid from Utah. His name's Spencer Fano. He's 6'6", 300 pounds, so he's super thin, but like he's the best tackle in this year's class, and like I think
he's not going to be, unless we package a bunch to go up and get him. He's not.
Well, I mean, that's the thing. Like, I think that he could be on the board at 15, or he could go at 6. I don't know.
Right.
But like,
well, that's the trick with the draft in general, right?
Yeah.
Like you make your best guess based on the scouting that you've done, the film, right?
Yep.
Whatever's been put on film, the needs that you have, and that's it. It's other than that, it's a lotto pick, right? Yeah. Like you don't know who's going to be good. Everybody that has great measurables, great this, that, or the other thing could be Ryan Leaf, right?
Yes,
where you're like, yeah, should be Peyton Manning or Ryan Leaf? Well, I don't know. Let's go 1-2. Like Peyton goes first, Leaf goes second, and Leaf was out of football in 3 years. And Peyton is, to me, the greatest quarterback to ever play the game. Not the winningest or the most successful, but I think he is the best. So, like, to me, they're two different things. But like, you just don't even know. So I'll be curious to see what we prioritize this offseason.
Yeah. So, like, I think heading into this next year, like, I want some kind of consistency. Like, do you go back? Do you pilfer some dude off the Bears offensive coaching staff to come in and be the OC? Like, I think Morton's done. I mean, like, I can you give this guy back the play calling duties next season after you like took him away and hashtag quiet fired him? I mean, like,
so here's a question for you. Like, Sean McVay, Andy Reid, they call their offensive plays, but they still have an offensive coordinator, right? Yep. So like, there's more than just calling plays that the OC does. I don't know from a like Johnny Morton standpoint if he's doing the rest of the OC job really, really well. Does it matter that Dan took over play calling, or do we actually, or is that just like the biggest, most visible sign that you're not fit for the job, right? Because the rest we just can't see. That's all the iceberg under the waters, all the other things that the OC does, right? We just see the tip of the iceberg, which is play calling and the result on the field. So that's one of my questions is he actually on the hot seat? Is he going to be replaced this offseason just because the play calling wasn't as good? And don't get me wrong, we were still top 5 in the NFL offensively when he was calling plays. But like, obviously there was a reason why Dan took it over also. So is that enough to one aspect of your job that your head coach is doing that many other head coaches also do? Is that enough to fire you? I don't know.
Well, they went outside the organization to get him, right? So
ish.
Right. So
inside to outside, back inside.
I don't think that the offense can look the same next year that it did this year. I don't think that that's the case. I don't think it's going to look like it did when Ben Johnson was on the roster. So like, is there someone that you could promote within, like as a play caller and like scheme setter for this group? I don't know. I don't think so. I mean, I don't think so. Yeah, I mean, I think Dan Campbell needs to be the head coach, right? And that someone else needs to be calling the plays. And like Dan can be like, go for it on 4th down or call timeout or whatever. But like, I don't want
to process the full play sheet and the strategic 4th down. Do we go for it? Time management, clock management. You're just spreading your brain cells a little bit too thin.
Yeah, exactly. So like, I don't know if it's like, can we go out and poach like I mean, can you poach a college coach that's like a offensive mind? Like, can you raid the Denver or Chicago coaching staffs for like one of their up and comers and like give him a chance, more responsibility? I don't know, but like I think they have to make a change. I just don't know what it should be. I don't
Yeah.
think that like it can be Dan Campbell and John Morton running the offense next year. I just don't think that that's. I mean, like,
And Campbell's not going anywhere, right?
correct,
So
yeah, correct. He's not going
it
anywhere.
makes the question mark in that formula pretty clear. It's the Morton is the
Right.
question mark, right?
Yeah. I mean, Brad and Dan have had too good of a working relationship. It's not Dan is not going anywhere unless Brad Holmes needs a scapegoat to save his job. And
Yeah.
we're nowhere close to that. So,
No.
yeah. So I do think they need some kind of like new blood, offensive play calling, offensive scheme personnel to come in and do it. And I mean, but so let's talk about the defense. We haven't talked about the defense. I still so if the Lions start the following 4 players on their defensive line next year, I'm not too upset. And that's Hutch, McNeil, Reeder, who you'd have to re-sign, and then Al-Quadin Muhammad, who I think is completely earned at least one season as a full-time starter, and not like a Marcus Davenport type. I'm going to look up Al-Quadin Muhammad here just real quick. But because I think
while you're doing that, one of the things that I was thinking about, right back on offense real quick, is we were talking about Tisla and like that. We think that he's going to be good. And I was looking at where'd he go? Isaac Tisla. He has had 394 total snaps this year so far.
Yeah.
He has 15 targets.
Right. Okay, let's talk about that and finish the offense entirely.
Let's just use him. That's why we got him. It's crazy. 0.5%.
With Amon-Ra St. I think Amon-Ra St. Brown missed one game, and Laporta has been out for a pretty decent chunk of the season, half the season plus, something like that. Jameson Williams' target share went up, and I think that he showed that if you target him 6, 7, 8 times a game, he can be the 100 yard plus a touchdown receiver. I'm very much a pro Jameson Williams guy.
Yep. Same.
Here's the issue. Amon-Ra St. Brown gets 2.5 times the targets that any other wide receiver on the roster gets. So he is effectively some combination of Sam Laporta, Jameson Williams, Jahmyr Gibbs, and the next level, like Isaac Tisla, basically. So I am not advocating that Amon-Ra St. Brown has less of a role on this offense, but like Jared Goff knows who he can trust on a down-to-down basis and forces. I think we've seen, I don't know, 6 or 7 games this year where Jared Goff only has eyes for Amon-Ra St. Brown and just forces the ball to him regardless.
It's Linus and his blankie. It is blankie, yeah. Right?
And I get it. Like there's dudes in his face. He's had to adjust to pressure, and no quarterback plays better under pressure than they do when they're kept clean or whatever. But the idea that like Jared Goff can be kept clean as often as he needs to is ridiculous. And I think he only faced it was just shy of 20% pressure rate. Like there are guys like Joe Burrow and Lamar Jackson who are getting pressured, and I think Patrick Mahomes was pressured at something like 38 or in the low 40 percentile of pass reps that they're receiving pressure. Jared Goff is getting pressure in the worst offensive line season that we have seen, since like year 2 of this regime. He's facing half the pressure rate that those quarterbacks are facing. And like we just don't spread the ball around, and like, I get it. Like Laporta's hurt, you're facing more pressure, but
so on that, if you filter, I'm going through PFS premium stats here. So I always filter at 20% of the highest, just to get rid of the people that only played a few,
Right.
a game or two, right? So the percentage of dropbacks that are under pressure, where do you think Goff is out of the 43 quarterbacks that qualified?
25th.
As bad as our offensive line has been, they're the worst. Where do you think he falls?
25th.
That's exactly right. He is 20, well done. He
Thanks.
is 25th most pressured quarterback in the NFL.
Yeah.
So
I mean,
the whole the offensive line is so bad, he's pressured more than anybody is just wrong. He's the 25th most pressured quarterback in the NFL. And if we look at his grade, I need to scroll a little bit here. He is also 25th grade while under pressure, which is about right, right? Like if you want to be in the top 10, but he is not. So while he is right in the middle of the pack of volume of pressure, he is middle, that same middle of the pack on actual performance.
So there's this comment right here
47.9.
by Brian. Pressure up the middle hurt our run game more than Goff. I disagree. So here's the thing that I think hurt the run game this year is that I love Jahmyr Gibbs. Like I think he's an excellent player, but you got away from the Lions cannot get themselves down to like 2nd and 5, 2nd and 6 this year. They just couldn't do it. So their success rate on Mike. So last year, the Lions, per Next Gen Stats, the Lions' success rate on third down was like 48.9% or some crazy high number. How many percentage points did our success rate on third down drop from last season to this season? So they were 48.9 last year. What percentage are they this year on success rate on third down?
18%.
Wow, that's a lot. It's 38%. So they dropped 10 percentage points when converting on third down from last year to this year. That's a huge problem. And to me, the problem is based around the idea that like they would do something like this. They would pass on first down and they would have a run and get 2 yards. Then there would be an incomplete pass. Now we're in third and 8.
Yep.
And the offense is just not situated for third and long. They're situated for like 3rd and 3, 3rd and 4. And like if you look at David Montgomery's number of rushing attempts over like the last 7 games of the season, it is in the single digits.
Yep.
And like, okay, so Jahmyr Gibbs is getting more carries. Okay, he's really good. I can understand why people would want to give him more carries, but it has to be something closer to 60-40 as opposed to 80-20. And even his carries, one second. It's a little bit of the Barry Sanders effect where it's like, I'm going to run for 1 yard, -2 yards, 3 yards, then rip off a 50-yarder. And now over 4 carries, it looks like I have a 15-yard per carry average.
Right.
But like down, if you look at the Lions offense, not by numbers or averages and look at it by like from this play to the next play, what does this 4 down sequence look like? So much of the time this year, it was ineffectual run or incomplete pass followed up by a solid like 3-4 yard gain. And then they're still in like 3rd and mid or 3rd and long and they can't convert. So now we're into the 4th down conversation or punting, and like for whatever reason, I like going for it on 4th down. I don't mind being the most aggressive 4th down team in the NFL, but I also think that like
you have to win those 4th downs.
Yeah, you have to win those 4th downs. And so many of them this year were just running Gibbs straight into the line. And I'm like, that's the wrong guy, in order to get 4th and 2.
And the wrong location. Right. Just based on the way our season went and our IOL went, just don't run it inside. But to your point, it might not necessarily be a incompletion, but it might just be a 2-yard pass, right, or a 3-yard pass. We're not passing downfield to get those shorter 3rd down distances.
And like I understand that, like, yeah, you go from Frank Ragnow and Kevin Zeitler to Tate Ratledge and Graham Glasgow, there's going to be a drop off. If your offense is so affected by your center and right guard that it looks like this as opposed to last year when it looked like with those two guys, I would argue that there's some other fundamental flaw in the offense. A center and right guard should not affect the offense to the level that it did this year. So, like, whether it's running the ball, whether it's passing the ball, or whatever, like the fact that like they have dropped off so hard from what they looked like last year to what they looked like this year is extraordinary to me. And like I think that they consciously went away from players and like became more one-dimensional with what they were trying to do.
Yeah, it was either Gibbs or St. Brown or nothing.
Right. I mean, like, I think that is largely what the offense is. So
and going back to the Tesla, right, and how much we use him or don't, we're looking at targets. So Amon-Ra St. Brown had 157 targets, fifth most in the league, actually. Who was, you would think, our second best receiver, Jameson Williams, would be our next highest targeted. It's not. It's Jahmyr Gibbs.
Right.
So our next highest targeted receiver for Detroit is Gibbs with 89. So, which is almost half of what St. Brown is.
Right.
And I have to scroll down to Jameson Williams. He had.
This is incorrect, by the way, just FYI.
You're right. I had it sorted on the wrong thing. So St. Brown had 157. Jameson Williams had 94. Jahmyr Gibbs had 89.
Yeah, I wasn't talking. I'm talking about this.
Oh, gotcha.
C plus any other downgrade can cause this. Sure, I guess. I mean, find me another. I mean, the Chargers lost both tackles, and their interior line is trash, and they're in the playoffs. So, I mean, counterpoint. Go ahead. I mean, I honestly believe that if your offense literally takes a shit because you lost a center, that I think there's some other fundamental reason why you're not being successful. You were being propped up by that position. So, I mean, I have a theory, but I don't want to talk about it right now because we haven't talked about the defense at all. So
I'll finish on the receptions or the targets. So we got St. Brown with 157, J-Mo at 94, Gibbs at 89. And then we have to scroll to Laporta at 49. And Montgomery at 28. Like, if it's not just a couple people, the rest are just decoys out there. And I think either A, we need to be more creative with our play design to get more people into the plays, and have actual play designs where Tesla is the number one target and St. Brown is the number two or whatever. Or we need to have the quarterback be able to go through the progressions to get to the other one instead of going first possession dump off, progression dump off, which is what it appears to be. It's super frustrating to watch when you see that kind of progress and then no consistency on offense. Because they know, I just have to double up on St. Brown and put someone high over the top to make it so that he's afraid to throw to J-Mo. And then what do? A whole lot of nothing. They dump it off to Gibbs and hope he does stuff. So we need to get guys like Tesla in there. And even Khalif Raymond. Like, I didn't even see him he's 27 targets the entire season.
I mean, his snap count doesn't support that either. I mean, like, they had him in there for, like, there were a couple of games, especially after Laporta got hurt, where, like, Raymond was playing, like, 30, 40 snaps a game.
Yeah.
And I'm like, why? I mean, his skill set largely replicates what Jameson Williams does. But, like, if you're not going to bring him in and use him, and, like, who's he going to worry? I mean, like, Tesla at least can block, and, like, his size is a problem for opposing defenses. And you already have the speed problem on the field in Williams. So I don't think that they should have been like, oh, more speed. Like, I just doesn't. Yeah. You have Gibbs and Williams on the field all the time. Like, it's You have plenty of speed.
So let's talk defense.
Yeah. Okay, I'm gonna start.
All right.
Aiden Hutchinson per PFF has 15 sacks this season. It's his best sack output of his career. How many sacks did Al-Quadin Muhammad have this season, Mike? Don't look it up. Just guess off the top of your head.
I want to say it was like 11.
It was 12. You did a really good job. That was real close. So, like, here's the other thing too. Like, I think that this is kind of telling here. Let me see if I can get snap. Okay. How many snaps has Aiden Hutchinson played through week 17 of this season, Mike?
650.
960.
960.
All right. Yeah. How many snaps has Al-Quadin Muhammad played through the same amount of time, Mike?
And by the way, 962 for Hutch is the number one most amount of snaps in the
he's
NFL.
Number one by a mile in the defensive.
Yeah. Max Crosby's 2 at 935. Yeah. He's got like an entire game's worth of snaps and more. AQ Muhammad, if Hutch is at 962, I bet Muhammad's at 300-ish, maybe 1 out of 3 snaps.
440.
440. Okay, a little bit more.
So here's what I'm wondering. I think I am a bit. You and I have spoken a little bit about this a week or so ago, but I am becoming a big believer in the idea of force multipliers, or basically like you have a great player, and then you give him a sidekick, Batman and Robin, tag team partners, whatever analogy you want to go with, but like somebody who's going to feed off of what the other guy is doing, right? So one guy, So one guy's got, it's the Steph Curry effect. I like the gravity. Like Aiden Hutchinson has gravity. Like he pulls attention. He pulls other teams to like game plan towards him, right? So therefore, there has to be a margin that you can exploit somewhere else, right? So I think AQ Muhammad this year, his season, to me, what it says is Aiden Hutchinson is good and can get his, and we can have another guy produce over there. So like between those two players, they have 27 sacks this season. Like, it's not bad. Like if you told me we'd have 2 pass rushers and had 27 sacks between them, I'd be like, okay, not bad. And still, I don't know that the pressure on the season looked good. Can you imagine what if AQ Muhammad had 600, 700 snaps? Why are we playing Marcus Davenport? Is Josh Paschal going to come back and get some of this snap share? Why isn't AQ Muhammad getting 700 snaps this season?
Yeah.
The reason that I think he's not getting it is because of matchups, and he's not very good against the run. And the Lions want to stop the run. And I'm like, we need to be shooting.
We have Reader.
we need to have, you need to re-sign DJ Reader and let Jack Campbell flow off of whatever open gap DJ Reader's opening up.
Yep.
And you give AQ Muhammad a chance to be a foundationally scheme. He is a different kind of player than Marcus Davenport. And you need to lead with the kind of player that AQ Muhammad is and not the Marcus Davenport type anymore. So you
already got the other side with Hutch just wrecking things anyway, right? So you don't have to worry about that. Hutch will do Hutch things.
Here's the thing I want. I think they either need to do, in the draft, I would like to see, or maybe even in free agency, depending, I would like to see a guy that can give Aiden Hutchinson 15 to 20% less snap count on the field, because they're burning him up. Like if he was a running back, like he'd be 12 years into his career right now with the kind of like wear and tear that he's taking up. Myles Garrett only plays 75% of the Browns defensive snaps. Aiden plays something like 90 for the Lions, and I love him. He's my favorite player and I want him to be successful. However, I also don't want him to have his career last 8 years, So like, I would love to see him be able to have a little bit of taken off of his plate. So if it's, whether that's AQ Muhammad being his normal backup and like he still gets his 440 snaps, proven that he can be like an effective pass rusher, and you get another guy, preferably a rookie, on the other side, or you let AQ Muhammad play and let the rookie be the backup. I don't care. But like, I think that AQ Muhammad has earned a spot as a starter on this team. I think that you can probably let Josh Paschal and Marcus Davenport walk at this point and at least let them test free agency. And then I would spend either a first or second round pick on a pass rusher.
Did Trey Hendrickson get re-signed in Cincy?
Did not. He did not get re-signed. They gave him some kind of like token here, please be quiet money. And then he played for a little bit, and then he'll be in, unless they tag him, he'll be in free agency next year. So I would imagine
that's what I was looking at the list of free agents. And I'm like, I could have sworn that he's the number one listed edge free agent.
He's not going to be a Lion.
It would be interesting. His market value for as far as spot track is listed as 25.5 million AAV.
Yeah, I would be shocked. Let's just hang on. Let me just see who's got the most choice. So the Titans, Chargers, and Raiders are all projected to have over $100 million in cap space next year. Like, I would not be surprised at all if Trey Hendrickson is a Charger next season.
And we currently, per over the cap, have 4.3 million.
It's less.
It's less.
It's
but again, less. we're gonna get 30 million ish when we restructure Goff's contract. When we likely cut Graham Glasgow, that'll be another 5.5 million. So we can get like an additional 35 million. So we could be up in that 45 million range relatively easy. If that's what we want to spend the vast majority of that cap space on.
Yeah, basically.
And nothing else, right?
I mean,
because you get Trey Hendrickson in your rookie class, or you do other things, right?
So the Lions have typically wanted to be able to go into this season with somewhere between $20 and $30 million in cap space for like flexibility. They view their practice squad as an extension of the actual roster, so they elevate people pretty frequently from their practice squad. Matchup reasons, injury reasons, like they want a true, like, how many people are on the practice squad? 12, 11, something like that, and the roster is 53. So they want a true like 65-man roster. And they need some kind of flexibility for that. So if you think that the Lions are going to have to sign their rookie class, which is like $11 million on average, the cap's going to go up, they're going to have their rollover, and then they're going to need $30 million in cap space just to function the way that they want to function during the season. I think you've got to free up, let's see, that and that. I think you got to free up somewhere between like $25 to $35 million in cap space this season. And then if you want to sign somebody, then you're going to have to free up more, So it's like, if you want to actually make a splat, like, so last year they signed DJ Reed day one, the free agency, right? So $16 million a year. So they spent $16 million, or what have you. So if you want to do something like that, then I think you're probably going to have to restructure Goff and St. Brown and push.
And Reed has not played well this year.
No, he's not. So like, here's the other
cut him, right? Because we would actually have a $9 million cap hit in addition to.
His contract is such that I think that he's on the roster for his full 3 years, the way that they've structured it. So the whole secondary got hurt at some point this year. Like, both safeties are out. DJ Reed missed 8 games, I think, and then Terrion Arnold got shut down for the season, having played intermittently in between that time. So like, I don't think that DJ Reed's any better than Terrion Arnold at this point. I mean, like, having watched them both play on the Lions secondary. Will Brian Branch be the same? Will Kirby Joseph be the same next season? Like, Kirby Joseph last played week 6. He's not going to play the last game of the season. And like, his knee injury is like Frank Ragnow's toe. Like, it is a lingering, non-fixable issue. So he is going to have to just manage the pain.
Or retirement, even.
Right. So, I mean, like, you literally just paid him.
And do you know how medical retirements happen? Do they hurt the cap? Do they not hurt the cap? Do we get relief? Do you know?
Well, so what I know is that over the cap doesn't have a like if they retire button.
Right.
So like I imagine that there's something like I imagine that you're not just on the. I mean, I imagine that you're on the hook for the guaranteed money. I mean, you promise that money, but like
Yeah.
even the Lions contracts for like Penei Sewell, St. Brown, and McNeil, like all that guaranteed money is like up after this upcoming season, and they don't have any more guaranteed money on their contracts. Like Kirby Joseph's contract's very interesting. Like he's not paid more than like $7 million a year, and then like the bulk of his contract is on the books in the first void year that he would have. So like it's, he was a steal if he was healthy, and now he's not healthy. So I don't know what that looks like, but like the Lions can look. I mean, you could make a case that like every position in the Lions secondary needs a new starter. And like Amik Robertson is like 27, 28, and like has proven that I think that he can be a starter in the NFL. And like, there's no guarantee that the Lions re-sign him. Like he might be an $11 million a year guy for the Chargers or the Titans or somebody who's like, well, you're feisty and can play, and we'll take you because you're on our timeline, and we need some vets in the room or whatever. Like there's a real chance that like Terry Arnold and DJ Reed come back and they're healthy next season. The safeties are a huge question mark. Brian Branch will clearly not play for at least half the season. Kirby Joseph will have to wait and see, and then Amik Robertson might be playing somewhere else next year. So you might need effectively 3 safeties, to just, and so like, okay, so Avonte Maddox has played relatively well with like one exception. I think you can have Thomas Harper on the team in some way, shape, or form,
He's
but
played
like,
serviceable.
Yeah, he's been serviceable. But like, I think these guys have also been like, because they got playing time on the field this year, I think that is an invitation for other teams to be like, okay, you were a practice squad guy for the Lions. How about you be our like third safety and get like almost starter level snaps for, the Atlanta Falcons or somebody, somebody like some mid-tier other NFL team with some money to spend, like they might be upgrading their depth by poaching guys off Detroit's effectively practice squad that the Lions had to turn to. And now you're really fucked because it's like, our starters were out, our backups played mostly starter roles, and then we supplemented our practice squad guys became our backups. And now, our starters may not play or not be good. And then like most of our backups and practice squad guys got contracts somewhere else, like you don't want Thomas Harper to be a day one starter next season. I don't. I mean, nice job, kid, but like I just don't want him. I don't want him to be a starter.
Yeah.
So what do you do?
Best that we've got, right?
Right. I don't want Chauncey Gardner-Johnson back on the team. Like, like so.
And I did find out a little bit more on the medical retirement stuff.
Oh,
so, medical retirement / injury settlement. What happens? A player and team agree the player cannot continue playing. Players paid an injury settlement, often equal to the remaining guaranteed salary. Players release. The cap impact is guaranteed salary paid counts against the cap. Any remaining sinus bonus accelerates immediately. Resulting charge is dead money. There's no cap exemption simply because retirement is medical. There's a difference between that and a post-June 1 medical retirement, apparently. If the team designates the release or retirement as post-June 1, the cap impact for the current year is only that year's signing bonus proration counts against the cap. Future years signing bonuses accelerate into the following year. So it gives like the immediate cap relief for year 1 if it's post June 1, but not for the next year. Everything kind of falls into the following year. So just FYI.
So I have more FYI. Breaking news. The Browns have signed Kingsley Aguiakun from the Lions roster. So that our starting center squad last week is no longer our starting center.
Yeah.
So apparently, Colton Pouncey, who is the Athletics Detroit Lions beat writer, has said that Kingsley asked Dan if he could guarantee a starting spot for him this week, and Dan said nope. So Kingsley was like,
I make no such guarantees.
He has been a practice squad guy and like elevated to like game day rosters on the better part of like 3 years now on this team. So I mean, like,
so like Tom Kennedy.
Yeah, Tom Kennedy. So like Craig Reynolds is a New England Patriot. He's not on the team anymore. And like like some up. So like you've seen an uptick in other teams signing Lions practice squad players, which has continued to hurt our depth. So, Mike, can we do a mock draft, Mike?
We could do a quick mock draft.
Okay. Will you set it up? You're so good at it.
I will do that. Un momento.
So, Mike, I want
DFS?
to do trades in this one.
All
Okay.
right. Are we gonna do PFFs then?
Sure. Is it warm down in Florida, Mike?
I played golf on Christmas Day, which was great, and then a couple days later, yesterday was 60s. Today's 60s. It'll be back around 70, I think, tomorrow and the next day.
Yesterday was 40s.
Sorry, yesterday was 40s. My wife corrected me. She's very good at that.
Yes.
Partially because she's got a lot of practice because I'm wrong a lot.
Can confirm.
Yeah, I can confirm.
Recorded in history forever.
So, why is this not doing it? Mock draft simulator. There we go. But yeah, it's beautiful down here right now. It's sun's out, and I think today is supposed to be what's today supposed to be? Mid-50s today, and then back up into the 70s tomorrow.
That is so nice.
Yeah, we went golfing on the 26th or on the 25th, and then we went to the Volcano Bay water park on Saturday. It was like 80 degrees out and beautiful.
Okay, so let's just click on 7. We can stop wherever we want and then slow it way down.
We're going to be drafted for the Lions.
Yeah, and then slow the speed down because I don't. Yeah, so it's going to just do the first notch.
Yep. And then positional value. Do we care?
No, we don't care.
All right. Entering the draft.
All right. So before we start, do you want to trade up?
Not for number 1.
No, not for number 1. But do you want to trade up at all?
I think we probably. I mean, if we can find a tackle or an edge rusher that's maybe slipping, I feel like going from 15 into like that 8 range is probably not a bad deal.
All right. So let's keep an eye on. So I believe Miami picks 11th or 12th, Mike.
Miami picks 11th.
So let's pause it after pick 9 and see who's on the board. And then I think that Miami is the team that we're going to have to trade with to get the player that we might very well need. Okay.
So we're going to start the draft.
Yeah. You might need to kick it up to like the first notch on the speed.
I don't think I can at this point.
You can't? I've always been.
So Dante Moore, Caleb Downs, Fernando, Jeremiah.
You must be able to see it and I can't.
Can you not see it?
I can't see. So you still have the speed on the slowest?
Yeah.
Okay, stop it. Pause. Okay. So we could trade. I don't think Cincinnati is going to take either the top tackle and let's just see who's been taken. Has Ruben Bain come off the board?
Nope.
Okay, we need to trade now then.
Okay.
So let's offer
15.
And then maybe offer them like a future, see if a future third will do it. Try that. Offer trade. Yeah, that always confuses me.
Oh, not accepted.
Interesting. Throw in like a 4th round pick this year, like 154.
I'm gonna go with 205.
Okay.
There we go. It's us.
Okay. So now we're picking 9th. All right. So scroll down. Is Ruben Bain? Yeah, Ruben Bain from Miami.
From the real U of M.
Okay.
He seems pretty good.
Yeah. So
pass rush win rate is like elite. Run defense, pass rush. All seems real good.
Yeah. So this is the guy that you take, and then AQ Muhammad is Hutch's backup. Yeah. So
This the guy we want.
I want him.
I would love another edge, especially a high end edge.
Yeah.
All right.
Okay, so now we're picking at 47. So Sonny Styles is also a guy that I very much want. So I think now we should talk about tackle. So there's going to be a couple guys on the board that could be a Taylor Decker, nailed it, replacement with a year of NFL seasoning. So the guys that I think we should take a look at are Caleb Tiernan, tackle from Northwestern.
Yeah.
I think his name is Andre Smith, tackle from Indiana. And Tyler Gooseby, I think his name is, who is a tackle from Texas, who I'm going to get a chance to watch today. So I'd be
a couple tackles have already come off the board. There's a third one, Caden.
So all of these tackles are listed as tackles because that's what they played this year in college. And almost all of them are projected to play guard in the NFL. So like Duke's left tackle, Brian Parker II, is projected to be a center. And then Proctor Mauigoa from Miami. Who's the other guy? Are all Jennings Dunker from Iowa. They're all projected to be
Spencer Fano.
He is a like the one tackle. So like if Ruben Bain had not been on the board, that was the dude that I was going to try and take. So
all right. So as we're getting close to our pick, is there any need to bounce up a couple spots in
I don't
fear that one of these guys might take?
So he's also going to be a guard. Okay, so let's see here. Yeah, so Gooseby, Tiernan, and like the kid from Indiana is like more of like a third round pick, but I think he's probably Carter Smith. I think click on him. I think that he's pretty good. I mean, where's the
block, pass block?
Where is the badness? I mean, 6'5",
313.
I mean, Decker's significant
size that we get, right?
So I mean, like, I like this kid. I mean, like, it's not like, oh, he plays in Indiana and they're shit. No, they might win the national championship this year. Like they're playing. He's played his best game when they're their best.
Yeah.
And so, beating up on so he played really good against Oregon, Illinois. Not bad against Ohio State.
And to be realistic, 70s are good grades.
Yeah, that's above average for sure.
It's above average. So he's playing above average. You're not like, oh, well, he only had a couple 80 grades. Well, those are like real high-end grades.
Right.
So like you're playing against potentially the best team in college football, and you're still scoring 73.6 is not a bad deal.
Yeah. So click out of this guy and click on the kid from Texas, and let's just like kind of compare the game to game. He's up. Yeah.
6'7", 312, a little taller, a little bit bigger. Sophomore, so he's young.
Yeah, so he might not even come out.
Still high end. Natural left tackle.
Yeah, so I mean, if you're looking at the two kids, I think the kid from Indiana is better. Like he's had higher grades
consistently,
longer, and he's more consistent.
Yep.
So I mean, like that's not the end all be all. Like it's different playing at Texas than it is at Indiana. Now that especially now that they're in the SEC. But like, I don't know. Like it might just be like Trevor Gooseby's arms are like 71 inches long, and like Carter Smith's arms are like 68 inches long, and then maybe that's the difference. I don't know.
Right.
But like, Tiernan is also I think a candidate here. But all of these guys are sit and develop for a season.
6'7", 325.
And he's
overall grades aren't as good.
Pass block only, So, yeah. But I mean, effectively, that's what Decker is. I mean, like they don't run behind Decker very often.
Yeah, that's because they can't. So, like, right. is a guy like Gooseby, who's got a real good run block grade, does that give us a little bit more that our offense can do? You could actually send Gibbs off to the left instead of always running behind Sewell.
Which might be like they might need to do stuff like that because it might take a little bit off of Penny's plate. I don't want him to do less, but at the same time, like I want him to not have to be the guy every single play, as well. So
Yeah. I mean, I think Smith seems to be. Now, granted, I have not watched them play, so
yes.
but just looking at the data, he is more consistently better than Gooseby.
Yeah, I mean, I agree with that. So I mean, but so here's the question. He's the 86th player. So like if you're not going to spend the 47th pick on the 86th player on consensus. Now it might also be that after like the Senior Bowl and like the combine and like the offseason really gets going, that like he goes way up the board and then he's appropriate at 47 or what have you. But like if the Lions have some trade offers and you want to go with Carter Smith, I mean, try and fall down 20 spots and see if he's still there, because I bet he will be. That kind of thing. Like try and pick up some of the value from trading up in round one, that kind of thing. Because I think
so my question then is, why is he 49? Now, this question to you, because I don't watch college football much. So why is he 49, whereas somebody who appears to be better on a national championship possible team is 86? What makes Trevor the standout as far as PFF concerned?
I think it's the projection. Like I think it's things like arm length, hand size, like how he's used, Mike. So like one reason that like Jared Goff doesn't get like really good PFF grades is because the Lions don't put him in a position to have to quote unquote do more than he's expected to do, right? So like Jared Goff,
our scheme is to do layups. We don't do 3-pointers, right?
Exactly.
And he does layups really, really well.
Yes, that's a good analogy. So like, so it's like, okay, you did what was expected. That's average, so it's great, but you do average pretty well, and so I think that like that's probably it. Is that like Texas probably asks more of Gooseby than Indiana asks of Smith. And it's just, like, okay, we're going to project you to actually pick and roll all day long. Yeah, I love the pick and roll. What was that? I always loved the give and go, if we're going to use a basketball term. Like that was always the like, oh, I'm going to go out here. Nope, cut back door, straight toward the basket, easy peasy. Like I always, because it always felt trickier to me, and I always loved that. So I mean, there's some like, we've done what I wanted to do in this draft already, which is to basically say like, so of these guys, Kamari Ramsey's the one that I want. This is the true like.
And is it worth taking a safety in the second round?
I
with
think
the question marks around whether Kirby can come back and Branch's injury. Like, is it worth taking a safety right now?
I think it's 100%
as opposed to a tackle.
Well, so I mean, like, I think that the safety pick is for now, and the tackle pick would be for later. So I think that's the question that you have to know going into the draft is when presented with these options, which they will be presented with these options in some form during the draft. You have to know if, like, are we drafting for this year or are we drafting for the future? Like, that was the problem, I think, with the Tyleek pick was that they felt like they had to draft a guy at that position because Aleem was hurt, and there was literally no other candidate guy to fill that role, and then they barely played him because he's a rookie, and they just don't play rookies a ton. So like, what do you think they do, Mike? Would you draft for the 2026 season, or would you draft for the Lions' future? I have an idea of where you'll choose.
I mean, I think that you and I have talked a little bit about windows, right?
Yep.
And one of the things that you try to do when you build through the draft is to create the longest window possible. And so if you only focus on this year, you're only focusing on a 1-year window. And we want to be good for a decade. So I think that this is one of those opportunities where we would actually focus on the future, and grabbing a guy like Gooseby or Smith would be the way that I would go. Just because it also gives us depth. Like Decker, assuming he sticks around, he's 30, what, 5-ish, something like that. So he's at the end of that career. He's easier to get hurt. He's had the pec, issues in the past. Like I would rather go with a tackle that we're going to use next year or, the following year, but with the opportunity to get, the reps in and get, backup opportunities should, one of our tackles go down.
I'm fine with that. And Decker is 32, just BT does.
32. God, it seems like he should be older.
He's a 10-year vet. I mean,
yeah.
I mean, it's crazy. I mean, so I'm fine with this, and I'm fine with whoever you want to take.
Well, let's go with Gooseby.
Right.
Just from there's probably a reason that he's at 49. If his projection is just that much better, let's go with it.
Okay, sounds great.
So our next pick isn't until 115. I don't think I can.
That's fine.
Yeah, I can't change the speed. So we have satisfied our edge needs. We've satisfied our tackle needs.
Right.
What are we looking at 115 as we're kind of slowly making our way through that?
So I think there's a number of centers that you could then take a look at. So there's one other player that I think that I would just take if he was on the board, and that's Drew Aller from Penn State. If Drew Aller from Penn State was on the board at 115, I would not consider anything other than just taking
quarterback.
Him. Yeah. Penn State had a very unfortunate year this year, and Aller got hurt. And if he's not able to work out, if the medicals aren't available, by the draft, teams might just take him off their board. If I was Detroit, I would take him at our first day 3 pick or even a 3rd round pick if we have one, and just stash him for years behind Goff because he's a 1st round talent, and they've done that kind of thing before. But realistically, I would be looking at centers, and I think that you're going to have to overdraft a center at 115. So I would be looking at Logan. I think it's Logan James from Iowa. He went to Iowa, so the Lions will probably love him. Pat Coogan from Indiana. Oregon. These are all Big Ten centers. Oregon has a center that I like that I can't pronounce his name, so he already feels like another Detroit Lion. So I think that if they might all be on the board at 115, but I would be looking at the center position from Iowa, Indiana, or Oregon, and then whoever you like best out of that, I would just be like, snap, take them. There's a number of
take
other
the biggest body.
Yeah, well, I mean that's the thing. It's I don't think that either. If any of the biggest body might be the guy from Oregon, and if he's 320 pounds, I'd be surprised. See, that's the thing is if they go to the draft to get a center, I don't know that you can get the kind of center that they want, height, weight, and speed, with the talent that they're going to need from that player.
Yeah,
to do it. So I don't
have
know
to adjust, right?
Yeah. I mean,
what does that look like?
That's the other thing is can this coaching staff adjust?
Well, we haven't adjusted too well this year.
No, we have not. Hey, did you hear about what was it? Stephon Diggs is charged with strangulation.
Strangulation, yeah.
What are we doing?
I guess it happened on December 2nd, so I'm not sure why he's currently getting charged or whatever.
I mean, the wheels of justice take a long time to do anything, right? Ugh.
All right, we're coming up. Let's see who we got. Xavier Scott gone.
I mean, I also like Xavier Scott.
All right, so let's take a look at centers.
Yeah, so the first one is Logan James, listed as a center. It's interior offensive line. You're there.
Yeah, I just wasn't sure if there was a further breakdown of center versus guard.
So Logan James is the first quote unquote center, and he's at pick 180. So we're drafting him 2 rounds ahead, but like click on first look. Let's see how big he is. 6'3", 300. I mean, that is the quintessential collegiate center now. Like that is
6'2", 290. Yeah, I mean, college is just a different game, right? It's
correct.
Smaller and quicker.
Right. So,
6'4",
I mean,
285.
I don't know if the Oregon kid is somewhere.
6'5", 310. Now we're getting there. We're getting closer.
Yeah, getting better. Had some Wheaties.
Yeah, 277 though.
Right. So you're over.
Now we're getting to the point where like we're overdrafting by 2-3 rounds.
Right. So I mean, like some of these guys that are listed at guard are probably also like center candidates, but I mean, like I don't know that. I can't predict that. And Detroit fan man, you're right. Like tight end is very clearly in need. Like the Lions were playing 3 third-string tight ends in last week's game: Firsker, Zylstra, and Ricci, I believe. So I mean, if Joel Royer is on the board here, I would just take Royer. I mean, like if you're looking for a tight end, like he's
6'5",
just
250.
6'5", 250. So he's around the same size as Laporta, you know. But like if you look at what he is a contested catch. He's a jump ball, you know, specialist or what have
Really,
you.
a 6'5" guy is going to be a jump ball guy?
Weird.
Like, fuck it, right?
It's weird, you know. But like, so his run blocking grade is atrocious. You know? So like there are some tight end prospects I like for Detroit. One of them, and neither one of them are on the board for PFF yet. And it's the Ohio State tight end Kazmarek, who is like 6'4", 260. He's basically like another offensive lineman. And then the kid from Indiana, who I don't know his name, but I don't believe that he's on the board either from. So I mean, like, and those are like round 7 or UDFA picks. But like, I don't care if he's a 7th round pick if he's 6'4", 260 and can run block next to Penei Sewell, you know. And the Lions did way too much of this, like leaving an unblocked rusher or like lining up like Myles Garrett on like a third, like a tight end or something like that. I'm like, that's never going to work. I mean, you're just that's a bad play call. So, you know, but like, you know, we took a defensive lineman, we took a tackle. I mean, we could look at corners real quick, Mike, just to kind of be thorough. But you got to click off and just choose. Yeah. So like the kid that I like the most here is Igbenenison from Ohio State, and he is a slot corner. You know, more man than he is. I
like the fact that he's got a decent run defense grade as a corner, right?
Yep. He'll be in this year's draft, so it's not like he's a redshirt sophomore that might go back or transfer. You know, and like, what's his height, weight, speed, Mike?
6'2", 195.
So a little bit bigger than the average corner. Like the average corner right now in the NFL is 6 foot to 6'1" and 190. So he's got a little bit of size on him. So like, I think that this would be a very fine, you know, Ennis Rakestraw level pick, and basically say like, what does the DB room look like? I mean, and no team ever has enough corners. You know, like Takario Davis is a big corner from Washington who's hurt this year. Sounds like a Detroit Lion, you know, like, but the other thing that I think is that like, yeah, I know. But the other thing is like, if the Lions don't want to have injury problems on the team, you know, in week 12, don't draft players with injury histories. You know, I mean, Levi Onwuzurike had an injury history. Like he has had injury issues in the NFL, you know, like, don't do it.
I think just looking at our pick number and where those are, you know, projected to go, there's no point in picking somebody in the 160s, 180s when we're at the 115 mark and we've got picking, you know, at 154. So I would say, you know, best player available kind of thing with matched with our need of a tight end, I'd say one of these guys would probably be my pick.
Okay.
So you tell me. You said Royer was the guy that you'd go with.
Royer's the one I've heard something about.
Well, let's go with Royer.
Okay. And if you want that to be our last pick, that's fine.
We'll do one more because I think 154 is going to be interesting because there's going to be cornerbacks that are available and guards or centers that are going to be available. It's going to make for an interesting choice. Then we'll make that one our last one.
So the guy that runs this board, his name is Trevor Sikkema. He works for PFF. He also has a podcast or like YouTube channel with a friend of his from NBC called the NFL Stock Exchange, and I'm in that group's Discord, and I have been just in there being like, these are all wrong. Like center, yes, but like, tell me why cornerback is one of the biggest needs on this roster. Tell me why tackle is one of the biggest needs on this roster when you don't know whether or not Decker's coming back. Like, are you saying that like backup corner and backup tackle are the biggest needs on this roster? What does D line mean? Like, does it mean, because we have edge and you didn't say edge, so that leads me to believe interior offensive line. So what does that mean? Like, because Aleem McNeil is back, you drafted Tyleik Williams, you could potentially re-sign DJ Reader, like, tell me what D line means. Like, there's just not enough information here. So I really dislike the way that these initial like team needs have been propped up by PFF. Largely because I think that PFF is like, there's like, oh, okay, there's like general, like if I was to think about the Dolphins draft needs, I would have superficial insight into what they need, right? I think PFF goes one level below that, but not the level that you need to go to accurately predict any particular team's needs or like what their strategies or like behavior in the draft has looked like over the last couple of years. So,
and I do think that the needs like backup quarterback or backup tackle, I think those are the kind of things that noting whether you need a backup. So like if you're like, oh, I need a backup tackle, but I also need a starting, safety. Those are the things that you have to think about. Is all right. Well, we've got Jalen Stroman here, and assuming we didn't already take a tackle. When we think about tackle being a need, we can go, oh, well, we actually just need a backup. Would we rather have Jalen Stroman as a potential starting safety or a more likely to be starting, or are we looking for depth in future? So I think it would be cool if they actually just showed like, backup needs, like actually denoting whether it's a backup need or a primary need.
Oh, yeah, I will make that recommendation and take credit for it. Thank you, Mike.
All right, so this will be the last one that we do. We are round 5, pick 15. We're at pick number 154. And we could use safety help.
Yep.
Potentially. Cornerback help. We took tight end, so we could use the center at this point.
We have taken a tackle, an edge, and a tight end, right?
Yep. So we could use a center.
They're all
we can use a cornerback, and we can use probably a safety, our top 3.
So I think we have the same options that we had our last pick.
Yep.
So it just depends on, do you want to go with
but our next pick's not going to be till 193. So,
right.
that next best center might be really bad once you get up there, right? So, so that's why I thought this would be an interesting final pick for us.
So like, I think once again it comes down to like, what are you drafting for this year or next year? So like Ruben Bain, that's an immediate help. Tyler Gooseby, that's we're laying the foundation for something to help us in the future. The tight end pick, I think that's probably helping next year. So it's like, I think that we have gone back and forth. So, like, if we hold to serve, this pick needs to be a future need. Like, we are laying the foundations. So, I mean, I think you got to take Logan James.
Logan James. Oh, the center.
Yeah, Logan Jones.
Yeah. I mean, that's what I would do as well, because I think by the time our next couple picks come up, the center, I mean, we're already at the probably tier 2 of the center group, right? And I think there's going to be a big drop off between this group and then the final group. So I would go center as well.
All right. And I just don't think they're going to find a guy that's height, weight, speed, Frank Ragnow. So,
right.
You know, that kind of thing. So, like, we can just.
Yeah, there's no way to end it.
You can just close the website, the tab. That'll do it.
Yeah.
You know, but like I think that's what it is. I mean, like I went into this season thinking like the Lions can trade their picks out into future years because we might as well stockpile higher round picks in the future because we have so few needs. You know, and then we go through the season and the season is what it is. And it's like, no, maybe there's more needs than we thought, you know?
Yeah.
But, you know, and so like, but what do you do? I mean, like you also want, I don't think that this team is that far away from winning the division again, you know, like if they lose so I think even if either Minnesota wins or Detroit loses, Detroit's guaranteed 4th place in the division, which would be great because then we get 3 or 4 teams that finished 4th in their division next year. That will be 3 wins for this team. I would be happy. I would be happy to say right now that the Lions win against all of the other 4th place divisional finishers next year.
The Raiders, for example.
The Raiders, you know, who I would love to play the last team in the NFC South, you know?
Right.
So like if the Lions are roughly the same team next year as they are to this year, I mean, that's the difference between having an 8-win and an 11-win team. And the Lions, I mean, just because of that, the Lions are probably in the playoff race on tiebreakers no matter what, you know, even if they play the same and don't get
I think we're good enough to split with everybody in our division, at the very least, right?
I hope so, you know, and like Micah Parsons will probably not play for the Packers right off the bat next season, you know, like we haven't talked about that, but the Packers have gone all in. They traded a good run defender in Kenny Clark and 2 first-round picks for Micah Parsons, who then played 2/3 of the season, got hurt, and we'll see where he stands next season. You know, that kind of thing. But like they were all in on this idea that like we're ready to go now, you know, and so let's go get a difference maker, you know, or what have you. And so like, you know, is our trade up for Ruben Bain in this particular mock like that a version of that, you know, because there's a world where like you sign DJ Reader to like a 1-year deal. Frank Ragnow comes back, you trade up and you get like a Ruben Bain who slips 3 spots or whatever from where he's projected to go. And you're in a position to make that jump because you had this bad season. And now all of a sudden Aiden's got his 100+ pressures and 12 sacks again next season. And you have, you know, a guy that might have the same number of sacks on the other side, you know, and like, I think that like there's a real world out there where the Lions are slightly less injury prone, you know, and 1 or 2 things happen, and they go from an 8-win team to a 12-win team, and you're back in the playoffs, and then of course anything can happen. So, yeah, I would love to do like positional group breakdowns with you once the season is officially over. To me, the season is over and everything.
So you're eliminated, right?
Yeah, like when you are no longer eligible to make the playoffs, your season is done and you should change gears. Like my pride comes from winning football games that matter and not ones that don't. So
all right. So before we go, we've already gone almost 2 hours. We got 10 minutes until we hit the 2-hour mark. So in the next 10 minutes, I want to get Your thoughts on MVP race: Drake May versus Matt Stafford. Until the Atlanta game, I thought it was very clearly Matt Stafford, and then throws 3 interceptions on Monday Night Football, and he still has the same number of interceptions as May. So it's not like he went, May has far less or whatever. But like, what are your thoughts on the MVP race, and who would you pick and why?
Well, so I believe that the MVP race is not determined by stats or by grades or by that kind of stuff. I think it's driven by narrative. And I think you're probably right that, like, as of the Atlanta game, Matt was in the driver's seat, and then he goes out and puts up a dud against a bad, I think Atlanta's a bad team.
They're 7-9. They're basically a game away from 500, but they're not good. They should have beat them.
Right, exactly. Like this is
almost did anyway. Yeah. Even with that, they still almost came back and beat them. Did you see that catch by Puka that wasn't quite a catch because the ball separated like this much? Oh my God,
it's very close.
So good, so close.
He's very good. Yeah, but the Rams are perhaps the NFC's Super Bowl front runner. You should beat a team like Atlanta, I think, pretty handily, and they did not.
Yeah.
However,
trap game for sure.
Yes. And so then on the other side of it, I think that the thing that I would say against New England is that this is a team that was obviously 4th in picking, second in the draft last year, something like that.
Something like that.
And they are playing an unbelievably easy schedule, but
easiest schedule since 1999.
They have beaten the Bills. Oh, I'm having a hard time even finding a worthwhile.
It's they've only beat one team that's over 500, I believe, and that was the Bills.
Yeah. So then they lost to the Bills like 3 weeks ago, and then they have beaten the Ravens, which is the only other worthwhile team I think on this list. But they have like pummeled, I think, a lot of these other bad teams. But it's just littered with bad teams.
I did a little bit of research on that, so because I'm like, it's the easiest schedule since 1999. 26 before Drake May was born. It's the easiest schedule, and so I was looking at the point differential in their opponents. Right, so LA played 10 games against teams with a positive point differential. In other words, they scored more than they gave up, for a total positive point differential of plus 935. Those 10 teams. They played 7 games against teams with a negative point differential of a total of negative 617 for an overall of plus 318. New England, on the other hand, only played 4 games against a team with a positive score differential, and it was only plus 214. They played 13 games against teams with negative point differentials for a total of negative 1,281. So their overall for the season point differential was negative 1,067 for their opponents versus LA's plus 318. It's like a 1,400 point differential between the two schedules. It is absurd. It's like historically bad schedule, but they beat them because you should beat teams that are 1,000 points given up more than that they've scored. But anyway, you were kind of talking about the strength schedule, and I was looking that up. I'm like, that is crazy.
I don't really care about so you're a Matt Stafford fan, right?
I am. But I still think it's his right now. He just can't have another really bad game against Arizona. That'd be bad.
He had a bad game at the wrong time.
At the very end, where it's recency bias, right?
Correct. And like human beings are human beings. So that's gonna come into account.
Yeah.
And like I do think that like New England is like, the resurgent New England Patriots. Mike Vrabel is in talks for head coach of the year, right? Or whatever, as Sean McVay probably is. And whatever, and like which way do people want to go? Because like I know like in the NBA, when it comes to like you could give Nikola Jokic or Giannis Antetokounmpo the MVP every year until they no longer play, right?
Yeah.
And it's kind of like do you just want to vote for someone new? If it's one of those years, it's probably going to go to Drake May. And if it's like, are we going to look at the season as a whole and like what's going on? Because like I think you can make the argument that like May's doing more with less than what Stafford is, but Stafford's probably the better player.
He's doing career. Well, I wouldn't even say he's doing more with less because he's behind Stafford in all of the metrics. Like Stafford has more touchdowns by like 30%. He's got more yards. He's the number one PFF graded quarterback in the NFL. He's doing all of this against the hardest schedule in the NFL versus the easiest schedule in the NFL. So like, I wouldn't say Drake's doing more with less, but his team won their division, and you should when you're playing 13 garbage teams and you're only playing 4 that are worth worth that. But I think his age has a lot to do with it. Like this is his second year, and being number 2 is still amazing. Like he's having a great, and I'm not trying to take anything away from May. You can only play the people that they tell you to play. Like he didn't get to pick his schedule. So, but at the same time, the difference to me, the difference in the schedule matters. If you're going to put up 5,000 yards, but it's always the bottom 3 teams in the NFL, that's different than that is company. So I'm going to have to let you go, Drew. But yeah, I think
I vote for May. Sorry.
Yeah. That's fair. That's fair. I'll be curious to see what the next game is, but I got to bust because we got people at the door.
All right. See you later.
Happy New Year, man.
Yeah, you too.